Dragon Age Origins is my favorite game in the Dragon Age series. Probably my favorite BioWare game, too. What's not to love? The plot is stunning, the world building is iconic, and the banter and relationships between the player character and their party members is absolutely amazing, especially the dynamic. The companionship of Alistair, the competitiveness of Leliana and Morrigan, that angry Cornari, and the elf assassin everyone is horny for. But what if I got rid of them? What if the hero of Ferelden faced the Blight alone? I ask myself, can you beat Dragon Age Origins without a party? Before we get into this challenge, let me define party. For the purposes of this challenge, party is strictly limited to companions who reside at the campsite after the prologue. During the tutorial section, you're forced to take on a companion. I don't believe this forfeits the challenge, as right now we are not a Grey Warden. So to fix this, we go into tactics and make our party members as effective as a vegetable, by setting them to cautious and clearing all their presets. They'll resemble your Aunt Gladys on bingo night. That's right, they're essentially brain dead. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, we have to make our little monstrosity. May I introduce to you Babyface, a prince hailing from Dwarven royalty. I'd show you the actual gameplay establishing Babyface's claim to the throne, but unfortunately OBS decided to cuck me. 17 hours of recording and no segment longer than 4 seconds that actually maintained 60 frames per second. For this reason, this video will probably be shorter than what will be the norm for this channel. Speaking of this channel, I want to give a quick thank you to everyone who enjoyed Can You Beat Fallout New Vegas with Only a Minigun? If you enjoyed the video, I also stream on Twitch, usually miscellaneous games, but I also plan on streaming the challenges live and posting the edited video with the script and voiceover on YouTube later. So if you want to hop on by and experience the live version with me, that'd be awesome. Likewise, you can recommend challenges you may want to see. Anyways, thank you so much for 1,000 subs. I hope you all stick around to see what the future of this channel will be. I couldn't have made it this far without you. Anyways, it's time for Dragon Age. Long story short, there's big trouble in Small Town. King Babyface Sr., aka Daddy Dearest, aka the King of Orzammar, has sent Spike Spiegel and myself down to the Deep Roads to recover our family shield. During this escapade, I met my 2 brothers. The eldest brother, Trian, is meant to become king next, while the youngest, Balin, is suspicious as hell. Balin reveals Trian has a plot to kill the player character. Babyface doesn't approve of this. Babyface does not like dying. It's his least favorite pastime. Luckily though, Trian ends up dead. Unlucky though, as it's revealed Balin was the imposter. Always knew he was a sussy baka. While in a barbarian rage, Babyface killed one of his companions. The king approved, like father, like sociopathic tendencies. But unfortunately, no amount of blood from the plebeian caste would be enough for the king to believe his innocent murdering son. I was thrown into prison at the order of my brother Balin, and Spike Spiegel informed me I was to be exiled to the Deep Roads. While beating the shit out of Darkspawn, I met Duncan, a man who would quickly regret knowing me. He took me in and we continued to Ostagar. There I met the King of Ferelden. He was a nice and gullible man. I hope nothing bad happens to him. I met the king's estranged brother, Alistair. He's meant to be your best friend, but I will be his worst nightmare. Everything he knows and loves shall be forfeit. Moving on, Duncan sent us, Grey Warden recruits, off into the woods to get the ingredients for a potion. I think he was trying to red pill me. Combat in this challenge is pretty straightforward. I use any special attacks that stun, any buffs for damage and defense, and I down an ungodly amount of health potions. I can only imagine what Babyface is feeling, consuming so much liquid. I imagine it's similar to that one party in school where you wanted to prove to all the cool kids that you were hip and with it, and in the heat of the moment, you downed a 750ml bottle of Fireball whiskey. You thought it'd make you look cool, but instead it scared all the other kids at your 7th birthday party. Little Billy is still scarred from your projectile vomiting after it temporarily blinded him. While playing soldier in the woods, I met Morrigan. If you've ever played this game, she was your first romance, you can't tell me otherwise. The time had come for Babyface to join the esteemed ranks of the Grey Wardens. First up was Davith, but he couldn't keep up. Fucking lightweight. Sir Jory fared no better, in the sense that Duncan knows when to put a bitch in their place. We're gonna do a little time skip to speed things up. The king's right-hand man, Logain MacTyr, decided to be a sneaky snitch and betray all of us. He sounded for a retreat, took the troops away from Ostagar, and left the king and Duncan to die. My only regret was I didn't do the deed myself. I woke to best girl Morrigan. Her mother saved us from the Darkspawn and then caught me up to speed on what the game's main plot was. Essentially, I wanted revenge, and I needed allies. Loghain usurped the throne as Lord Regent, and I needed to amass an army and political support to take him on, as well as the Darkspawn. We left the swamp, fought some bandits, found a dog, shoot him away, and reminded Alistair that what we had wasn't a friendship, it wasn't a partnership, nor camaraderie. It was parasitism. He is nothing but a little mosquito that I allow to drink my blood, because one day I'm gonna flex my arm and blow him the fuck up. Continuing to Lothering, I decided it's time to exploit the game. But first, we need to deal with Loghain's men. I disposed of them easily, then recruited Leliana to the party. Even though this is a solo run and its purpose is to have no companions, that doesn't mean I can't recruit them. Although I won't use them in combat, there's ways to make these characters leave your party. You can simply ask them usually, but in my case, I planned on pushing them to the brink of insanity, and make the name Babyface one for all to fear. Now for the exploit. This woman here is desperate for traps, not the kind you and I are familiar with, but the kind that can be used as a defense mechanism. Lucky for us, she pays in money and in quest experience. So we stop by this old tavern, talk to this merchant, and make an absolute metric fuck ton of traps. Use an auto clicker and spam the shit out of the escape key to speed up the process. And in no time, I maxed Babyface's level to 24. Afterwards, I threatened a nun and recruited an angry big man. I went to play hero and visited Redcliffe, a small village being plagued by zombies, but I don't fuck with that, so I abandoned them, and decided, much like my accruing student debt, I'd just deal with that later. After all, I'm sure they'll be fine. Instead, I ventured home to Orzammar, to visit my loving family. Turns out my father had died, causing a power vacuum. My little brother Balin now fighting for the crown. Being thought of as an unbiased opinion, I was sent to go back into the deep roads and talk to a living paragon about who should be king. Again, because of the OBS incident, and just the entire lack of variety in this gameplay, I'm going to do a lot of summing up. I venture into the deep roads. The monotony of combat in a usual playthrough of this game is awful. The monotony of combat in a solo playthrough is literally the worst. I don't have the capacity to make a clever comparison, because this playthrough has just decimated all my brain cells and my will to live. The game forced me to have Ogren in the party for the boss fight, so I stripped him and turned him into a vegetable. I fought the Rock, enabled the mentally ill, and in a shocking turn of events, crowned my backstabbing brother as a new king. Sure, he was the reason for my exile from home, but game recognizes game. Babyface now headed to a greater calling, discovering the ashes of Andraste, which can be used to heal the ill. I stumbled upon a cult, which usually isn't a good thing, but in this case they were willing to make a deal with me. Basically, if I turn the holy ashes into Kool-Aid by mixing with dragon's blood, they teach me how to do a kickflip. Seemed like a fair trade. Leliana did not approve, so I sent her on her way. We don't deal with insubordination here. After taking out the trash, I encounter Zevrin, another potential companion. However, he made an attempt on my life, which I can forgive, but he is fan service and not the Morrigan kind, so he had to go. Also, I killed Ogren, and Sten, the big angry man, but he sent me to the Shadow Realm. Turns out he was a third-rate duelist with a fourth-rate deck. Next was Redcliffe. Remember how I left them to the Horde and said they'd be fine? Well, they were. If fine means they'll never be burned by tax season ever again. The sole survivor was the relative to the Arl. Typical how the rich always end up on top. He was upset that I abandoned his people to die, and I was upset he was alive. It seemed like no one was happy. I had to find Arl Aemon. The front entrance was blocked, so I had to use the secret tunnel through the mountain. I met a blood mage who was responsible for the Arl's son becoming possessed by a demon. The Arl's wife begged me not to exorcise her son by killing him. I did no such thing. Without consent, that is. Instead, I convinced the kid that ending his life was the only way to save his ill father. Which wasn't a complete lie. This was just a lot faster than actually exorcising him, and I'm already way past schedule. Next was the Circle of Magi. Quick synopsis. I killed Wynn, took a nap, killed some demons, met Narcotics Incarnate, said no to drugs, rolled for initiative, and slapped the shit out of an eldritch abomination. Although I admit the fight was extremely underwhelming as I had to play on the defensive. I recruited the mages and the Templars to my great big plan of vengeance. Finally, our last group of misfits to appease, the Dalish elves. Basically, some werewolf folks aren't happy with the elves. There's a lot more to it, but my brain cells are dwindling like Billy's sense of worth. I entered the forest, met a hairy man. He wanted to wear my skin. I said no respectfully. He attacked me. I booped the snoot. He left. Entered some ruins, met a lady. Contemplated the life we could have together. Nice white fence, a dog, 2 kids, alcoholism, and eventually domestic abuse leading to the cops showing up and the judge locking me away, all because I told her I do not care for the Dream SMP, and possibly for ingesting large amounts of crack cocaine. But unfortunately, the good life is not for everyone. She explained to me that Santa's head elf got involved in some blood magic and some other drama I don't care for. Basically, I could solve this in a very peaceful manner, but Babyface does not negotiate with well-minded individuals. I instead instigated further and told the giant fur baby we should dunk on the elves, and we did, in the form of genocide. Babyface approved. Now with all my troops recruited and my brain cells slowly recovering after their little union strike, I made my way to Denerim to confront Loghain. Upon meeting the big man himself, he instantly disrespected Babyface, and on that day I swore vengeance, not for him killing the king or killing Duncan, but for not recognizing the absolute menace before him. My goal was clear. I needed to embarrass Loghain in front of the court. I found evidence of him selling the elves living in Denerim into slavery, and his right-hand man was torturing civilians and political enemies. I'd show this to you, but again, OBS. I also rescued Loghain's daughter, who is the rightful queen, and escaped from prison. Not fun. Now the day had come for me to put Loghain down. We argued and bickered, debated and brought up points of political intrigue. Babyface is a master of words, a silver-tongued devil, a witty, and level. Oh wait, that's right, I lost the landsmeet. The people turned on me and rioting ensued. This was my last chance to get Loghain, so I did, until an old religious lady said no more fighting. Then it became a duel, Alistair versus Loghain. But Alistair sucks, so instead I fought as his champion, and I did it. I bested him. But I granted him mercy. Why? Why let this awful man live? He killed Alistair's brother, and his father figure. Well, that's exactly why. This is me flexing on him. Because he is meant to be your greatest companion, I decided to give him the worst end in this solo run. Instead of Loghain dying, he would join the ranks of the Grey Wardens, the very organization Alistair swore his life to. Alistair didn't like that, so he made his claim to the throne. I would have been fine had he not done that. I would have let him go and live his life, but that disrespect was the last straw. The Queen and I agreed. The best way to deal with Alistair was to sentence him to death. My best companion, my faithful friend, my beautiful little parasite, was to be taken to the chopping block. A fitting end for him. Now we had more pressing issues. It was time to put political interest aside and defeat the Darkspawn once and for all, or at least until the next blight. The archdemon who controls the Darkspawn had revealed themselves, and it was time to prepare. I learned the only way to kill an archdemon was for a Grey Warden to deal the final blow and die with it. I decided this meant the tale of Babyface must come to an end, because I won't let Loghain die. His punishment for his transgressions will be to make a cameo in Dragon Age Inquisition. I can think of no greater punishment. On the night before the battle, I was approached by Morrigan. She wanted to do the deed, but I'm a good Catholic dwarf, so I said no thank you. The time for the final battle had arrived. We marched on Denerim, cleared out wave after wave of Darkspawn, and I told my remaining companion I'd go after the archdemon alone. I continued through the horde until I made it to Fort Dracone, made my way up and found the archdemon. The fight was actually pretty easy. There are ballistas all around for ranged attacks, and my axe is enchanted to have a chance of paralyzing. Every now and again, a named NPC would come out to try and help, but would get killed almost instantly. It's kind of funny because Arl Eamon tries to help and dies, but I'm pretty sure he canonically lives after the battle. After besting the archdemon, I reached the Epilogue. Unfortunately, the game crashed, so I didn't record Babyface's funeral. I think we'll leave it as canon, that when they saw Babyface's corpse, they just threw it off the building and pretended the archdemon died of Sugma, striking Babyface's name from history. And with that, I beat Dragon Age Origins without a party. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for all the support. More Can You Beat videos will be coming along with my usual content. If you enjoyed this video, please consider following my Twitch. I stream miscellaneous games and will be recording for future videos on there. Likewise, you can hop on my stream and talk to me about suggestions for future videos and challenges you'd like to see, or, just come hang. It's all good. Thanks again for watching, and have a beautiful day.